speak to women from a very deep place, because so many of us are really prone to activity. We just busy. You know, I was very clear that the corona came to stop us in our tracks. Stop, be still, go in. But because so many of us as women have not been taught women's medicine, we live our life as men in skirts. We do it the way men do it because we've been colonialized and we've been talked out of our power as women. We've been taught to compete, and we've been taught to yearn, and we've been taught to strive, and we've been taught to accomplish, but we haven't taught how to just be, how to not just do things, getting caught up in the activity, but to just be in action. Because for a woman, the action doesn't take place outside, it takes place inside. And so many of us haven't been taught how to go in there and do action inside so that our outside doesn't have to be so busy. So many of us are stressed and overwhelmed, and we're running and we're doing, yeah, but we're not in touch with the main thing that gives us as women power, which is our heart. So I want to talk to us today about taking action to be changed from the dominant masculine point of mind to the feminine heart of the matter. Come on, somebody, talk to me about the heart of the matter, because that's where the woman is. That is where our power is. That is where our strength is. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I got more degrees than I can know what to do with. I don't even know where some of them are. I got degrees and stuff. I don't even remember what it is no more. But that doesn't mean that I have to live here. So many of us as women are neck down dead, very intelligent, very educated, very smart, but we're neck down dead because we haven't been taught how to tap into the power of the heart of the matter, which is us. Action for a woman begins within. She is the cause. We don't just give birth to physical babies. We also give birth to everything on the planet that lives, and it begins in our heart. A woman's job, you know, in the as an indigenous person, as a Chislaki or a Cherokee, I learned that as a woman, I had 3 jobs. One was to pray. That's my job. That's my job as a woman, to pray, to be in communion with something greater than myself so that the energy and the power of my heart will bring forth new life. Did you hear me? And the energy and the power of my heart will bring forth new life. Doesn't matter whether or not I ever give life to another human being. It's the energy and the power of my heart that brings forth new life in everything that I go. You know, when a woman is really in touch with who she is, when she's in touch with her heart and her power, she can just walk into the room looking good, smelling good, and take control of every man, and he gonna want some of that when she knows what she's doing, because she's bringing birth and new life just in the feminine energy, not in a sexual way, but in a very powerful way.
Good morning, everyone. Let me pause this. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in to the R.E.A.L.L Academy. We hope that you enjoyed the pre-show. I'm Dr. Sheikah Houston, and of course, loading Dr. Tammy Taylor in a couple of days here. I think she defends on Thursday. The R.E.A.L.L Academy was created based off of the framework that we created that helped Tammy School move up 60 ranking levels in our state. Our district has moved up 10 ranking levels in our state. And I have been promoted to the district level. Tammy and I both have district and school level leadership experience, teacher experience, and we both serve on multiple boards. So we wanted to take what helped us improve and share that with other people, because the school improvement process was something that was very difficult to navigate. But we hope that you enjoyed Miss Iyanla Van Zandt. She is so knowledgeable and has so much wisdom. And as we're talking about our question today, how do I lead and organize my day without having that mommy guilt? This is something that a lot of women in leadership experience, and we thought that her video was very fitting for today, because a lot of times as women, because leadership a lot of times is a male dominated field, we feel like we have to do things like men, and we don't. So we wanted that to be known that, you can lead from your heart, like she talked about, unapologetically as a woman through your heart, and you can do it your way. You don't have to take someone else's template and force fit it onto yourself when that doesn't work for you, because that's what causes us to have stress and we're the highest ranking people that pass away from heart disease and those types of things. So, when we're trying to force fit things that don't naturally fit for us, that's when we run into our problems. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Shika, and good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. Yes, that was a very powerful message and so aligned to what it is we want to share this morning, because as you heard Ms. Van Yent say, the heart of the woman is where the energy and power lies. So we have to really be in tune within and to be able to connect with ourselves and to the heart of the matter, because when we can, we feel permission of a sort to unplug and be who we are as we are. And as she was saying, like, we can't get caught up in the busyness of life and the activities. We have to really look within so we can see exactly what it is that's going to allow us to have impact. This is just absolutely perfectly aligned too with what I've been studying, because what we have to know as Black women is that is one of the findings in the study. The main thing that you have to be able to do is to connect with yourself as well as to connect with others.
Definitely, Tammy. And I love how that was addressed in your study, and how a lot of the women, that was something that they struggled with, and they were transparent about that, which is probably why we even have, this question, because it is something that women struggle with in working women in general, not just even in leadership. So if you're not familiar with what mommy guilt is, the internet has defined it as the name given to the feelings of guilt women experience in relationship to their children when they return to work or when they go back to work. And it's definitely something that I can identify with. And I love that Miss Van Zandt talked about how you don't have to give birth to children to identify with this. So this is not a topic where our men are going to log off and say, hey, this is not for me. Or women without children log off and say, hey, this is not for me. This is for everyone, because there are several women in the workplace who have children and who work that we have to be able to empathize with. So when she talked about being unapologetic, leading from the heart, we have to be able to do that when we know that women may be experiencing this, that we're supervising and that we're managing. It was something that I struggled with when I went back to work. I was pregnant with both of my children as an assistant principal at my school. And so I did take 12 weeks off. That was unapologetic time that I wanted to spend with my children. And as leaders, and even at the district level, we have to make this space safe for women to feel like, this is something that they can do without being looked upon a certain way. Oh, she's not serious about leadership. If so, she just would have took 6 weeks off. There should be no judgment around that. And sometimes what I have experienced in my field and in leadership, the scrutiny has not really been from men. It's been from other women. Even at the HR level, there was a time where one of the teachers had to bring her child in, and she couldn't drive all the way back from where she lived for a meeting. And the HR director was giving her a hard time, saying this, no children should be here. This is a professional environment. And I was really happy for the principal who hired me, Miss Gail Hamilton. She really gave me my philosophy for that. I didn't have children at the time, but what she stated was, children are what we do. This is our business. So if we're educators and we can't have children coming into school on teacher work days, teachers can feel free to bring their children with them, then what are we doing? And so that has been how I have always framed my philosophy around that. Children are what we do. I'm not going to make it harder for women or men, because it wasn't always just women bringing their children to work with them on certain days, when we could have that flexibility. One of my male teachers would always bring his two daughters with him, and they would actually be the ones who would set up his whole classroom for him. I used to call them Sasha and Malaya. But they were just a part of our school family. So we don't have to, as leaders, have that what I call the George Jefferson syndrome, and where we are just so in charge, and so everything is so serious, and we're so by the book, because everything is not black and white. There is a lot of gray area, and if we really want to meet the needs of our people, we have to be able to allow for certain things to take place.
I think too, one of the more important points that she made was, many times the reason why women shy away from being who they have been intrinsically created to be, just it is natural for a woman to be who she is. But when we shy away from that and we try to do it a different way, or we try to mimic what she called the man's way, it's an effect of colonization. Like, we've been colonized to think that in order for you to look strong and to be considered powerful or a key player in the game, you have to have certain qualities that have historically been attributed to men. And that's that's a false way of being and having the reality of, we are all who we are, and it's okay. Like, it's fine to have the quality of empathy, and it's nothing wrong with that. When you're allowing kids to come into the school, okay, we'll try to figure out how to make this work. Like, is it somebody who can watch the kids while we're engaged in the work that we need to do? Or if you're sensitive to things, and as you said before, this isn't just about women, this is about whomever is in the seat of being at the helm. You have to be able to make sure that the people that you are serving and who are working for you understand that you do possess those qualities that are just a natural part of being a good person, and in effect that makes you, of course, a high caliber leader. But we have to have permission to understand that there is no particular way you have to be because you are gendered to be male or female. You just have to understand, as she said before, power doesn't necessarily come from the activities that you're involved in. That power is in that heart. And so you have to express that in the way that affirms you as a leader.
Exactly. All of those were great points, Tammy. And I think you're right. We are colonized to think a certain way. And so I think that the message that we want to send to women, to people listening, that, there should be no apologies for leading from your heart on certain things. Women, a lot of times, are created naturally to be those nurturers, and you don't have to do certain things to be seen a certain way. And I'm glad that Mr. Parker mentioned that daddy guilt is real as well. We posted this question in one of our groups, and somebody asked that question: is daddy guilt something that people men experience? Because you really only hear about the mommy guilt. So I'm glad that you were transparent about that. and just being away from your family, period, or because you have long hours. One of the things that I did as a leader, my children were a part of me. Like I said, my assistant principalship, I was pregnant with both of my daughters. And so when I came back, my baby announcements, everybody got one. They were in everybody's boxes. And then so as my children grew older, the guilt I experienced, I did want to bring a light to this. I would rush home from school because it was important to me in my brain to be able to have the same amount of time with my child as the caretaker. Now that sounds crazy, but that's what in my mind was saying, oh, you would be a good mother. Now that's a part of that guilt. And that wasn't true. Babies can't even tell time. So, those are just some of the things that, happen to you when you're having to spend time away, or when you have to go back to work. But as my children got older, I made spaces for them to be with me, because my children, the way that my household is set up with my husband and I am the person that, predominantly cares for them after the school hours because of his work schedule being longer than mine. So they had bikes at the school. They had toys in my closet. They had several things. And as I'm working after school, they're riding their bikes up and down the hallway. If I can go outside with the tailgate chair, that's what we did. But I was not going to fit myself inside of a box to say, oh, well, my children are not, they're separate and this is not professional. I did what worked for me as a working mom. So that's what people have to do. You have to do what works for you. And you have to make sure that the people who you work for understand what your values are. I would always commend First Lady Michelle Obama, because she always talked about how she was mom in chief. That role was first for her. And that role is first for a lot of women. It's first for me.
I think you're right, Shika. The other thing and this is so important for us to acknowledge, and Dr. Parker said that before, that whole sense of daddy guilt is there too. Because daddies are at the grind, trying to lead, doing what they do. You're at the basketball game that you have to supervise, but you're not at home tossing the football or the baseball or whatever with your son, or playing tea party with your daughter. So those things are like very real issues. What we have to do, and I think it's a part of us, we have to condition ourselves differently, because in the Africana culture, we've never been able, in most situations. Now there are anomalies and exceptions to this rule, but we've had to be flexible in our roles. Like there hasn't been a time when we've had the luxury of the woman is just the person who stays at home and provides total care to the family. We've all been, and this is even in antiquity, during slavery, women were out working in the fields or working in somebody else's homes. So we've worked, and everybody pitches in, gets in where they fit in, so that we can make this family thing work. And I think that it's important to validate the fact that that's the beauty of the Africana culture. Like we know that we have to work together. The message today from us is it's okay. Like we understand that the guilt is there. It happens for men and for women. We just know that we can connect with ourselves and go back to the heart of the matter, as we heard when we were starting this morning, to ensure that we are doing what we need to do, not just to better ourselves, but to promote the entire Africana community at large.
Definitely, Tammy. And, when you talked about those basketball games, that was another place where my children, when we had games, they were right with me. I buy their snacks. They sitting in the bleachers. I have duty. We at the game. We going together. But also the Africana woman principles, where it talks about that village and everyone being a part of the village. I'm thankful for my village, because my mom and my mother-in-law are people that helped me when there are instances when I can't take my children with me, but how I organize my day was unique to me in that I always plan, and you have to be intentional about planning. And my day is kind of compartmentalized. I plan for my week on Friday, usually for work, and then for my personal things, I plan on Sunday. But I have things where my workout is included, my self-care is included, my business is included, things I have to do for work are included, things I have to do for my children are included, because I have all of those different things to do. So being intentional about that is very important. And I don't get everything checked off every day. This is the plan. I may not get through everything. I learned how to carry things over. And I also have a reflection page.
Yeah.
And Tammy, you're very good at planning out your day as a leader. You want to describe your process?
Yeah. So with me, and the responsibilities, as Sheikah said before, are different, whether you are a biological mother or if you are just that go-to person for the family, for nieces or nephews, or for the caregiver to parents, or whatever is happening, and wherever you're needed, you still have to be able to organize your space. And I think Sheikah has shared this in our group, but it's just something that I do to document the time that I'm going to spend doing things throughout the day, so that that time doesn't get away from you. Because if you don't plan carefully what you're going to do, you feel like you're chasing yourself. And that goes back to what she was saying before. Then you're frazzled and overwhelmed, which we don't want.
Definitely. So we hope that you've gathered something from this message today. I'm going to put the link to the full video from Miss Van Zant in the comments, because it was actually a very powerful message, I think, for women and men. And I think if you would like to listen to it, I'm going to put the number that you go up to, because it was a whole 6-hour conference back during the shutdown. But I'll put exactly where you need to go to get to her part. It was really good. And also, if you if you have missed the collaborative last Tuesday with Miss Arcella Ostry, who is an MTSS interventionist, please go back and watch her interview on the collaborative. She was talking to us about how she keeps it real in her position as an interventionist. It kind of fits well into what Principal Hurt was talking about this morning with special education and intervening for children. And continue to join us on Saturdays. We are here to answer your pressing questions. We also have free conference calls for any principal or leader that has pressing questions yourself. Just fill out the contact form on our website, and we will schedule a conference call with you to answer any pressing questions that you have, because this is our way to pay it forward. When we needed help, there were people there to help us. And now we do this paying it forward here, but also professionally as our company with Create and Educate. So if you would, I want to thank Ms. Donna Scherer and Principal Hurt for sharing us out on the different groups. And thank you all for joining us. We are part of the Fantastic Four PD, starting with Principal Shawn Hurt at 10 a.m., us at 10:30, and we're joining Principal Kafele next on his platform because it is 10:55. So yes. Thank you all.
Have a good day. And thanks, Arcella. You did a great job.
She did. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your Saturday.